Hi everybody, this is Pramita here, and I'll be working on my ephemera folio that we were working on. That was the trifold one with packaging and envelopes. So you can use your junk mail envelopes, or you can use your tea-stained envelopes, whatever. So I will be using, let me clear the space a little bit. I have trimmed down the envelopes a little bit because as I had talked before, this ephemera holder or folio, whatever you say, is pretty narrow in nature. But one thing I have cheated on is let me show you. So one thing I've done is I have added some spine reinforcement. These are doubled up masking tapes that I often use as spines. These are actually artist quality masking tape, the ones that are used on canvas. They have a canvasy feel to it, and so they're pretty sturdy, and I often use them on my spines and they have never let me down. So this is going to be the basic structure. We have covered the front part, and inside what we're going to do is we're going to see how we're going to add the envelopes as flip out pockets, and then we're going to decide how to go about it. So the first things first, what I've done is, since these panels are pretty narrow, I have trimmed down the envelopes a little bit according to the panel they are going to go in. So this was I hope this is in frame, yeah. So this was pretty wide, and I did trim down a little bit, as you can see, just so that this fits inside this panel. Not that I'm going to glue this down, but because it needs to sit snugly inside this portion. Okay, and what else I have done is I have this narrow panel where I'm going to add this another narrow pocket. This is also an envelope that I have cut down. These are all tea-stained envelopes, and this is how they look. So at the end you won't be able to see practically anything of this tea-stained paper. That's a shame. Anyways, but I'm going to cover them up with the papers that we are working with, and these papers are not going to be listed in my Etsy store. The papers that I'll be using, they are going to be given as gifts to my patrons on my Patreon account. So please note the fact. In the middle panel, what I had decided was, again, remember we had selected two small envelopes that would go in. I'll just show you. So we had decided on putting the envelopes like this. So one can flip up and the other will flip down. So that's going to be that. And again, I have trimmed this to fit the middle panel, because I don't want them to be crumpled on the sides and stuff like that. So if you want the exact dimension of the ephemera, I will write it down in the description box below, so that you'll know absolutely what the dimension is. But remember one thing, you can obviously tweak it to your size, and of course if you use a wider tape or if you want a wider spine, then you can, the measurements will not be the same. So I will give you the measurement without the spine. The spine comes to 1/2 inch, because a 1/4 inch goes here, 1/4 inch goes there, and you're left with 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch of spine and the panels. I'll give the measurements in the description box. Again, this is going to go first for my Patreon account, and then probably it's going to go at a later stage on YouTube. So I'm not sure about that right away. So anyways, I'm going to cover this these envelopes, And also what I've decided is that I'm going to add 2 tiny envelopes, tiny ones. These are actually scraps of paper. So I've just folded them just to make them, just to mimic the envelope look. And I'm going to tuck this on this side, and this one will go on this side, and they will flip over. Show you. So then when you flip this will flip over, this will flip over, and then this will flip over, and you'll have another pocket over here. So we'll work like that. Of course, I'm going to line the backs also. We'll work towards that in a much later stage. But first we need to cover these envelopes up so that they can be stitched around and added to the make them ready to be added to the panels. Okay, enough of chit chat. I'm going to start working right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this up. So this paper I had folded without knowing what I would do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this up. Okay, so I'm going to cover this up, and I don't need to cover everything. As you can see, I'm just going to measure it out till the pocket closes, because I don't need to add there. So it's going to be till here. I'm just going to take a pencil and mark it. I have a pen anyways, so I can mark that, and so I'm going to cut till here. Okay, and for the width, I'm just going to I am going to keep this a little bit long. I'll tell you why, because that's going to act as a flap. Now these envelopes that I'm using are top opening, so I can't use a flap as a hinge. So I have to create some flaps which will act as hinges. These are the only envelopes I have right now, and I'm going to use them as they are. So that's that, and let me trim this part off. Just a second. Where did I keep my trimmer? Okay. So I have my trimmer over here, and the only thing that I'm going to do is I am going to trim this off. Just a second. Okay, so I'm following the crease and I'm just trimming this off. Okay, so I have this, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this part up. So yeah, so what this extra bit will do is it will act as a hinge, because I'm going to fold this. Okay, so let me take the bottom part of 2, and then we're going to trim this off. So I'm going to trim this bottom part off, and add it later on somewhere, or use it in my collages. So I'm going to use that, and this is how it's looking. Okay, so I need to trim this off a little bit because it's wonky, and we'll do that later on maybe. Now the first things first, I'm going to glue this up. So here's my glue stick. So I'm just going to glue this up. I'm going to move the ephemera folder, whatever, and I'm not going to glue it entirely because I am going to stitch this anyways. So I am going to keep a little bit of option open. So I'm just going to take this. So Okay, I just okay, so this is how it's looking. It is a little bit wonky, so I'm going to just trim this off. Okay, and then so I have my front portion glued. This is going to be the pocket. There's going to be a tiny pocket over here, and this will be the hinge. So I'm going to fold this. Okay, so this is going to get tucked inside the flap sort of thing, so you can pretty well guess how things are going to look. But remember, this has to open on this side also, so I need to put something over here. Okay, so I'll do that and see how things go. Okay, so what kind of paper do we want to use? I would like to use up the rest, of course. That goes without saying, so I'm going to use this, but let me see. Yeah, I'm going to use up this. Okay, and when I flip this, it's going to be like this. So I need to trim this off. So okay, one thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to trim it before. I'm just going to glue this and then trim it according to the size of the envelope. You can do that, no need to measure things out. So yeah, so I'm so thankful that I have this tiny community of friends and admirers and people who love my work. So yeah, so this is how it's looking. Now let me get my bone folder. If I can rescue it from somewhere, I don't know. No, I can't seem to find it. I kept it somewhere here. My bone folder and me, we do not have a very cordial relationship. We tend to escape from each other's grasp and play hide and seek. So that's that. And now the thing is that I'm going to trim off the excess. Okay, and I'm going to trim off the excess. I'm going to open this up. I hope I'm in frame, because if I'm not, then this will be a shame. Okay, so here I have my envelope flip that I can put in over here. Now you can see how it's looking. Pretty nice, huh? So, and when we'll flip this, this is, you won't be able to see this because this is going to be hidden under this panel. So when you flip this, you'll have this. You can add another pocket over here. Okay, so now the first thing is we have done this. Now we need to add something over here, which can be anything, which can be a book page, which can be some cutoffs that we have already have. You can do some collage, anything. So I might add this. I like this beach mail sort of logo, and then I can tuck this in, so this will give you a more finished kind of look. So let me add this and then finish this part off. We'll come back later and add some more pockets, and I'll tell you how. So we have this. Now I'm going to open this up. Now you can see you have extra on the top, extra bit. You can just, now I'm just putting a little bit of glue because I am a sucker for sewing. Okay, so I'm definitely going to sew this. So it's no point having both, having glued them down and then having to sew them. Okay, so here they are. Okay, and here I need to trim a little bit also. Okay, so here we have the first panel done. Now we are going to move on to the next panel, that is going to be the middle part. Now not the middle part, sorry, let us do the end part first, because I'll tell you why. Now I want, when you open this, these are the little tricks that I follow. I know I'm not a great journal maker, or I'm an authority of anything, but these are the little things that I try to put into my journals when I work on them. So when I'm opening the entire folio, I would like to have some kind of symmetry that would please my eyes. Okay, so I have this, and I want something very similar but not exactly same on this side also. Okay, but the middle panel can be something entirely different, or something not exactly very similar to these two. So I'm going to choose a paper which is similar to the one that I've chosen here, but not exactly same again. So I have a few folded papers that I want to use up, because if I keep them folded for too long, then the creases will form. So I have this, but I'm not going to use this. So I'm just going through these. Okay, this I'm not going to use. I can use this, or I can use this. Okay, so these two are the options, and what should we go with? See, if I use this, it's going to be very similar to this one. Okay, and if I use this, this is going to be different. Stamps are different, the coloration is a little bit different. So I can go with this. I don't want this matchy looking thing. It's too cohesive for my taste. So again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cover this up, and this one will also open on this side, so I'll have to keep a hinge on this side. So same thing I'm going to do over here. So I can speed this part up, or I can bore you to death. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing stuff down. So I'm going to move this. Okay, and I'm going to start gluing down. So I don't need to glue everything down till here. I need to glue things down till here, because I don't require the entire paper. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up. So what I'll do is, I have my ruler, and I'm just going to take this part off, because I would like to keep the hinge, but I don't need this paper, because if I keep this paper, this this ephemera folder, this ephemera folder, I just bumped against the camera. This ephemera folder, or whatever you want to say this to be, folio, this will become very bulky, and you will have difficulty when you're closing this up. So this is going to be the front thingy, and what I'll do is, I'm going to keep this flap, because I would like to have that as an hinge. As I said, I'm just going to take this part off a bit, because I might need it. I don't need it till here, so I can just, no, I don't want to mess up. So this will be like the hinge, but I'm not sure how this hinge is going to work. Let's see how this does. If it doesn't work this way, then I can always add some masking tape for hinge. Okay, or I can just stuck some. Okay, So this is going to be the pocket, or rather I would like to use the bottom part because I don't want this to be too busy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see how much I need, and then according to that I'm going to trim off. Okay, so I have this done. This is going to go in as a pocket. So in no time, as you can see, if you have everything prepped and planned and sorted out, you just don't need much time to build an ephemera, folio, folder, whatever you want to call them. Much time. You can do them pretty quickly. So that's it. So what I have here is, now I have this, okay, and I'll be having this as the pocket, and then I can add more pockets and stuff like that. So now we need to work on the middle panel envelopes theme. But before that, we need to finish the this back side of this, because they are going to be flipping, so you need to do something at the back also. And just like the previous one, I am going to add the same floral element. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to extend because I have not kept much of a hinge over here, I'm going to extend this hinge. I'm not going to trim it off basically. I'll see when things come to gluing down. Okay, so I'm going to just add this, and in our next part what we'll do is we're going to more or less move on to the next part, that is creating the actual base papers and stuff like that. So I'd keep it like this, because if I keep my ephemera folder like this, it can flip up. So I can trim this side off, or I can keep it. I just don't want to decide which hinge is going to work better. But I think I need to take this off because it is not as great. So I can take this off. Next thing will be stitching these up. Yeah, I like to give the stitched look. So you can, if you have a sewing machine, if you are comfortable doing it, then go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can skip this and sewing part and glue the papers thoroughly. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. Okay, so we have the papers trimmed down. I am going to give them another trimming once they are sewed, because then also it needs a little bit of alignment sometimes. So we have these done. So what I have here is another pocket, okay, and then we have this one. So now we need to work on the middle envelopes. So I'll be back to show you how the middle envelopes are looking, but a trick that I would like to share before I end today's video is that, so when I'm adding the top flap, the top the top open envelopes, they don't have much space for you to put things in and out. So what I did was I trimmed them with a wider V sort of structure, so that there is enough space for you to put things in and out. And don't worry, they will not look like this once I've covered them with paper and then stitch them. They will be pretty sturdy. And these flaps, I will show you the mechanism of putting things together, but before that we need to glue all the papers down. So that is going to be a third part. I'll come back to show you how I've glued everything down, stitched around, and then we'll be choosing the backing papers and more pockets, stuff like that. So bye everybody, have a great day, and thank you for supporting me.